Let's start with the first character, the biker. For this character I wanted a classic tough guy, and what's tougher than a biker? I thought that a biker could go for a more rectangular face to indicate some kind of toughness, so pick this head over here and copy it with Ctrl C. And paste it with Ctrl V. Obviously, don't work on the original artwork, always copy the assets to the side. But in case you forgot to make a copy and destroy the original assets, always remember you can re-download the resources from the course page. So now select the object tool and using the arrows, scale it so it looks a bit more square. Every tough guy needs some sunglasses, so I'm gonna copy the sunglasses and I'm gonna paste them on top of the head. Okay, so here we have a problem that could happen to you anytime when you are working with the asset pack. Notice that the glasses were pasted below the object shape. This is because Inkscape also copies the stack order of the assets. So it's possible when you paste it that it appears like this, hidden below another shape. This has an easy solution. Without deselecting the objects, go here in the tool controls of the object tool to change the stack order. From now on, to speed up this whole drawing process, I'll be using shortcuts to move them up and down. The default shortcuts are page up, page down. I'll be using them from now on. So if you see an object move up and down out of nowhere, now you know that I'm using shortcuts. Anyway, these glasses do not fit the size of the head. We need to scale it maintaining the proportions. Remember, use the Ctrl key. By the way, I don't recommend you to start aligning everything as you're putting them. It is better to align everything by eye and wait until the end, after you make any final adjustments, to open the alignment dialog and tidy everything up. Just a quick efficiency tip. Cool bikers wear bandanas, right? There is one bandana variation that has a more square shape, and we are gonna copy this one. To make it fit with the head, we may need to scale it non-uniformly, that is, without using the Ctrl key. I want you to notice that the bandana roundness do not fit completely with the top of the head. That's okay, I'm not gonna fix it. I think it looks fine as it is. Sometimes it's better to just roll with it if something looks good. I think this nose looks perfect for our tough guy, so copy paste it into position. Move it up the stack to be on top of the glasses, and adjust the size by scaling uniformly. This half ear works fine for most characters who don't need a special type of ear. You usually want ears below the head, maybe overlapping just a little. That's how they look best. Adjust the size with uniform scaling. For the other ear, instead of copying and pasting, I will just duplicate this ear, hitting Ctrl D. This will create a copy right on top. Then you just move it to the other side, constraining its horizontal axis. So with the object tool, just hold Ctrl while you move it to the other side. This will result in the ear being exactly at the same height than the other one. No need for the align dialog. Now we will flip it horizontally. With the object selected, just hit the H key. And because unlike when you paste something, making a duplicate raises the duplicate to the top of the stack, you'll want to send the ear to be below the head just like the other one. Bikers absolutely need birds, and I think this one will do the trick. So copy paste it, Raise it to the top of the stack if necessary, and adjust the scale with the arrows. If you want, you can use the scaling arrows to play with the proportions, making it longer or wider. I like it, but I think it needs something else, maybe a 5 o'clock shadow. So grab this bird over here and move it to the head. First, give it the right color. Open the Fill and Stroke dialog, go to Object, Fill and Stroke. Here I want to show you a quick technique to get a color that's similar but a bit darker than another one. Something that's super common when picking colors for an illustration. First, with the bird shape selected, switch to the dropper tool over here, or you can use the shortcut F7. Now sample from anywhere on the skin. Now the bird has the exact same color than the skin. We don't want that. With the bird still selected, make sure that you are in the Fill tab. Then go to the B slider and lower it just a bit, not too much. This will make it so the bird is the same color, but slightly darker. Like I said, picking a darker version of a color is super common in any type of illustration, and we're gonna use this technique all the time, all throughout the rest of the course. So commit it to memory. With a bird of the right color, send it above the head, but below the other bird shape, and adjust it to make it fit nicely. Let's clip it. Duplicate the head shape with Ctrl D, and with this new duplicate still selected, Shift select the bird, left click, set clip. But here's the thing, I don't like the fact that the shadow indicates an upper lip hair. It looks bad with the other bird that already indicates a position for the mouth. So switch to the node tool and select the two nodes at the top and move them down. Then overlap the other bird to hide those nodes. And now it looks much better. The skin area in the bird shape, which is a rectangle on top, looks weird without a shadow. Let's give it the same color. Select the rectangle. Remember that you can select objects inside groups with the node tool, so there is no need to ungroup these shapes. Then switch to the dropper tool with F7 and sample from the shadow bird. To end the head, I want this neutral mouth here. Copy it and put it here in this area of skin where it should be. This mouth is a line with a rounded cap. If you need to adjust its size, it may be better to adjust its stroke width instead. So select it and go to the Stroke Style tab in the Fill and Stroke dialog. Don't forget to switch to PX. I can't tell you the exact number to input here because the width value will depend on the size you're working on and what looks good to you. So give it something that feels nice and visible. I really like everything here, but I think I could use a couple of extra finishing touches. I'm thinking I would like the biker to have a couple of earrings, so grab an earring from here and put it on top of one ear. Scale it and rotate it like this. I think a silver earring will fit better, so change the color to this one. Finally, duplicate it, move it to the other side, constraining its position, and then flip it. I don't like the color of the bandana, I want a nice red color. So for the main body, give it this color. For the other shapes, we want a darker version of the red, so you can tell it apart from the other shapes. So remember the darker color technique, just sample the color from this red, then go to the B slider and move it a bit down. Just enough so it's clearly different, but not that much. You can check out my colors if you want. Repeat the same step for the other shape behind to get an even darker red. And it's almost done. I think now it will be a good moment to play around a bit, refining the positions, making sure you like everything where it is, and just moving things around with the object tool. Maybe making some proportional changes by scaling some shapes around. This stage of refining once you have everything on is something that you have to do if you want better illustrations. Adjusting things when you have the illustration almost done is always easier than adjusting things as you go building it. Anyway, when you're done, select everything with the object tool and hit Ctrl G to group it. I think this character fits a more square body. So let's grab a square-ish body. And since it's gonna be a biker, I like him to have a leather jacket. So I think this one will do the trick. Copy paste it. Ungroup it so it's easier to work. And eliminate the collar hole shape. We won't need it. The character is not gonna have a neck. I like it, but I think I'd prefer a black color for the jacket. And because tough guys don't feel cold, remove his shirt by changing the color. Just sample the color of the skin. However, now it's a bit too short for my liking, so switch to the node tool and holding Ctrl so it's constrained vertically, move this node a bit down. When you're done, just delete the other side of the jacket and duplicate the modified side with Ctrl D, move it to the other side and hit the H key to flip it. Put it roughly into position. Later on we will tidy everything up. Now for a couple of last details. I'd like for him to look like a human, so I will add 2 nipples and a belly button. These are just gonna be 3 perfect circles. Select the ellipse tool and holding Ctrl to make a perfect circle, draw the shapes roughly into position. You can duplicate one of the nipples and move it to the other side if you want to give the exact dimensions. For the color, the nipples will just have a soft red. And for the belly button, you can sample the darker skin tone of the shadow bear shape. I'd like buttons on the jacket, so copy paste this item from the pack. Ungroup it and eliminate the line and give them a nice white color. Then adjust the size and location of the row of buttons. Make heavy use of the uniform scaling, and if you need, move each button individually. Don't forget to hold the Ctrl key so they are constrained vertically to the row. And the final detail to the jacket, just copy paste this fold item. Ungroup it and place it on one of the sides. Adjust the size if you need it. Because these are triangles, it should be easy to change its shape with the node tool. Give it a darker black than the jacket. And remember, if you modify one, you can always do the trick of duplicate it, move it to the other side and flip it horizontally. So grab the torso and group it. Then put it below the head and of course, set the proportions by scaling both uniformly and non-uniformly. And it is still not too late for some final adjustments to the buttons and folds. We are done with the torso. Now let's continue with the arms. I think a tough biker needs some tough arms. So I'm gonna pick this one over here, the thick ones. You know what to do, copy paste it. I think we can get away with just scaling it uniformly with the object tool. But if you need, remember you can switch to the node tool and select these bottom nodes and move them up or down using the control key to constrain them. Regarding the hands, I really like this one over here. Paste them into position and make them fit in size, scaling uniformly and making sure they match the width of the arm. When you have the complete arm, it's easy to adjust the size by scaling uniformly. When you're done with the arm, just do the trick of duplicating with Ctrl D and flip it with the H key. But before finishing, every biker needs some tattoos, so let's make something super quick. Select the Star tool, make sure that in the tool controls it is set for the star mode, and that it has 5 points. Draw it at the side. For the fill, sample the color of the skin, and for the stroke, you can sample the color of the jacket. Move it into position and go to the Stroke Style tab in the Fill and Stroke dialog and give it a noticeable width. Adjust its position so the size and location looks good. For the tattoo on the other arm, let's make a super quick skull. Just pick the ellipse tool and draw anywhere a perfect circle holding Ctrl. Give it the same black fill. Switch to the rectangle tool and make a small rectangle at the bottom to imply some teeth. To carve the eye sockets, draw a rectangle, sample the color from the skin with the dropper tool, round it and rotate it a bit, and duplicate it to the other side. When you're done, it would be a good idea to group this shape together. Move it into position and adjust the scale. Now the final section of our character, the bottom. And in some characters of this style, one of the things they commonly do is to add another shape at the bottom of the torso to represent the pelvis. This gives the whole character a slightly more complex shape and a nice smooth transition to the legs. This one over here is one of the most common and flexible shapes for the pelvis, so copy-paste it. And since we are here, we might as well copy the other shapes we are gonna use. The legs are gonna be these ones, just the simple rectangular legs. You don't even need an asset for that, you could just do it with the rectangle tool, but I put them here for the sake of completeness. We're also gonna need some shoes, and these simple ones over here will do. And one last detail I think will look really good. I'd like a belt. This will add some detail to the area and also hide the awkward transition between the torso and the jeans. Okay, let's start top down, the pelvis. Just move it into position and make sure to scale it so it's wide enough. If you feel like it, you could also scale it vertically to give it the right height. The blue is perfect for the jeans, so I'm leaving it like it is. Move the legs into position and scale them so they feel nice and thick. Of course, put them below the pelvis. I want the belt to be noticeable and to hide the transition between torso and jean, so put it on top. Send it to be below the jacket, but above the body. If you group the torso, you may need to ungroup it to do this. For the colors, we want to be able to differentiate between two legs, so one is gonna have to be darker than the other. For one leg, sample the blue of the pelvis, and for the other, sample the blue from the pockets. Then move the shoes into position. You don't want them to be too thick. Remember that you can always scale non-uniformly to get what you want, for as long as you don't scale it so much that it completely distorts the object beyond recognition. And now that the character is finished, a new stage comes in, the refining stage. This is where you go in and make some final adjustments and fixes to the character. It is much easier to make modifications and decisions with a fully finished character than it is when you're building it. So in this stage we are going to take advantage of that. We search and find things we don't like and we fix them. This stage may feel a bit like busy work because you're just moving things around and adjusting some proportions with the object tool, scaling it and slightly moving things around, and at most grabbing the node tool and making some really small scale adjustments to the shapes. However, this is extremely important to fix anything that you're not happy with. And we are done with this character. Hopefully this was easy to follow along. The next characters are gonna go at a slightly faster pace because we already introduced all the tools we're gonna use here. So if you later on, as you're working with another character, you have problems following what I'm doing or don't understand how to use some tool, make sure to return to this lesson. For now, let's continue with the next character.